The following is a presentation of the ForceCenter podcast feed.
From the center of the galaxy, this is the ForceCenter podcast feed. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Joseph Scrimshaw, and this is one of our News and Cues episodes. The Cues stands for questions, and the news stands for itself, the whole word news.
That's right to the point. Breaking news. All kinds of news. We are happy to be here. We're going to get to all those news, all those cues. But before we do that, we're going to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. You know what's next. A little bit later, we're going to have our ForceCenter Recommends, an audiobook we think you should try out on us. But that's not all, Joseph.
No, there's still more. Insight Editions, publisher of a ton of great Star Wars books and other pop culture books. They are offering 35% off across their website if you use this special link, insighteditions.com/discount/FC35. This week, we're recommending the Insight Editions book, Inner Jedi Journal. It is going to be out in early January, and you can get 2022 set off great by just trying to be a Jedi, just writing down your Jedi intentions in your Inner Jedi Journal, which I'm already thinking about, I'm happy about, and stressed out about. So if you'd like to join me in that journey, you can use this link, insighteditions.com/discount/FC35.
Use it. Use that journal. I think, it's perfect time to start something new. And maybe I'll do that myself there. Wonderful stuff. We love the folks at Inside Editions. Ton to catch up. And this is a big catch up. I was pretty much on a plane getting on about 2 hours ago or so. We're really catching up at the time of the recording here. But I've been out of the loop, Joseph. How's your life adventures and Star Wars adventures been?
Oh, my life and my Star Wars adventures have been good. It is a busy time. It is a weird time. It's a difficult time in the world. Obviously, people listening know that, but I did have some joyful moments, which were really good. I got to see Spider-Man No Way Home at the Grauman's. It's no longer called Grauman's, but I always call it Grauman's. Yeah, I love that theater in my imagination. It will always be that magical, faraway place that I saw in photos as a child. That's where people lined up in the 70s to see Star Wars. Yeah. Apparently, there's footprints, and now it is a theater that I walk to. But man, I know this is our Star Wars podcast. I'm sure we have overlap with the MCU, but it felt like a Star Wars adventure because I haven't had this experience in a while, Ken. It was like Force Awakens. It was like Endgame. It was like Black Panther. No spoilers about the film, but there's things in that film that people are very excited about. And to just be, everybody was masked. I felt, relatively safe, as safe as one can, but I didn't take my mask off at all. But just the eruption of joy in the strange noises that came out of a large audience of just joy. And for me, everything that's in the film, again, no spoilers, is it works totally as its own moment, but it's also, building on people's love of the character of Spider-Man, the history of it. It was just so joyful to be in that moment. It felt like the same kind of reaction in the theater is, Han Solo saying we're home and popping on, or the, reveal of the Falcon, that kind of thing.
Love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was just an incredibly joyful moment. I laughed, I cheered, I cried for real at Spider-Man. So that was a nice life adventure. And then for Star Wars, we went out and, talked with a friend for a while after seeing the film, and then we walked home and we passed a Dunkin' Donuts on Hollywood Boulevard that has a huge Boba Fett poster above it. So I tweeted about this, but it looks like Boba Fett has staked his claim along with Fennec Shand to that specific Dunkin' Donuts. His blaster is like pointing at the doorway of like, are you sure you want to come in here? You got to respect me if you're going to walk into this Dunkin' Donuts. It was delightful to see in the wild that Boba Fett poster, and even more delightful that it was over the very incongruous Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, yeah, and we got Boba Fett in 2021, soon 2022 on a poster. I mean, gosh.
Yeah, right?
Wonderful thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I'm not even going to speculate how else we would see that. It's just beautiful that it's there. And I stood there for a long time. I took many photos of it. It was very cold, and my wife and I just stood there staring at Boba Fett for a few minutes. So that was a great Star Wars adventure.
Yeah, Left for Dead and at Dunkin' Donuts.
Left for Dead on the floor of Dunkin' Donuts.
And I know, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you about your adventures.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I was traveling out in Washington, D.C. in December. I was expecting it to be really cold. The first 2 days, L.A. was colder. So that's when you mention that. And when you say you're cold, I believe you. You got, Minnesota blood in you there. I trust your appraisal of cold. But yeah, a lot of fun. I was out in Washington, D.C. opening up for Mark Ellis at the Comedy Loft. And like you said, without a doubt, it can be it's a weird time, and we were trying to be as careful and cautious as we could out there, but also trying to, make a living and find that balance.
Yeah.
And so the crowds were a little smaller, a little intimate, but as being a longtime performer, Joseph, sometimes I can just open up a connection that's not there during larger crowds. So we gave it our all. We gave full sets. We weren't just mucking about doing, jazz comedy, trying to figure out some bits and looking at our notes. We did our show. We did a show. We had a lot of fun, and I had the chance to meet several ForceCenter fans, which always means a lot. Joseph and I have done a lot of different things in this town and industries and different areas of one entertainment career. You might know us from different things, but it's always something special when you're out in the wild and someone says, "Hey, I'm a ForceCenter Patreon supporter. I'm a ForceCenter listener." And I want to shout out a few. We had Drew was there. We had hung out there. Anthony and his wife Elise. So nice. And Anthony actually, inspired by what we do here, Joseph, has started his own podcast, the Force Ghost Conversations, and had a great talk with both of them. And Elise paid some really nice compliments to us, Joseph, that, sometimes it's hard to take compliments. You got to learn to take. She doesn't realize things, but also she's one of the, I want to say first people like this doesn't exist, but she's like, I can't wait for Bad Batch season 2.
All right.
We started to have a conversation about that, and she is, whereas Anthony is like the Star Wars fan, and she's like a Star Wars fan, that kind of situation. She's like, no, that's the chemistry of that cast, even though it's pretty much one man doing most of it. She goes, the characters, I just was pulled in by that. So we had a great conversation about that. There was also Brandon and Allie. Brandon, a Patreon supporter, I talked to that lovely couple on the first night. And then on, I think it was the second or the third night, was Matt and his wife, Megan. And Matt was, we had some great conversations about powering through the negativity the last couple of years, and just kind of calling the timeline on your Twitter feeds, just the struggle, but sticking with the joy. So, Matt, it was a wonderful conversation out there. And I wanted to shout out those folks. It meant a lot to come see comedy, number one, but two, it even meant more to have Star Wars conversations with good friends we've made through ForceCenter,
Oh, that is great. Thank you. I'm glad that you had a good weekend of fun comedy, and I thank you for bringing back the kind words from the ForceCenter listeners. That's so awesome. Awesome to hear somebody specifically excited for Bad Batch, because we both really love that, and I always like it when people let us know that they were inspired or encouraged or supported to start a podcast of their own. Because it is we so want to encourage that. We try to analyze Star Wars, but often it does just come down to opinions. What do you like? What do you think? And to hear other people getting their voices out there is so awesome.
Yeah, so good, so good. And I did it's my second time in DC, but this, I was there 5, including travel days. It was supposed to be 6, but a delay, 5 days, which is, you feel like you're moving to a town, and got to actually spend some time in the town. And me being kind of one of those kind of weird history buff kind of folks, finally did like the monuments and did that walk, but did about 2 hours every morning going around to the places and really spent some time there. And not to get too far down the path, but we always say there's light and darkness in all of us, and there's light and darkness in the history of this country, and I'm always open and honest about that too. But I was moved by a lot of what I was just feeling, and just kind of, I walked past the Vietnam Memorial, and there was a large group of Vietnam veterans coming out to hang wreaths for the holidays, and it was kind of moving in its own way. And I was just kind of in my head about a lot of things, Joseph, and I had my headphones in listening to music. And all of a sudden, as I'm just kind of around the Constitution Pond there, near the Lincoln Memorial, Yoda's theme comes on. And I always call Yoda's theme kind of a theme of enlightenment, a theme of comfort and home and guidance and mentorship and reflection and pondering. It's just one of the more delightful themes, one of my favorites. And I just was moved by, here we go again. Here comes Star Wars when you need it. It just pops in to add some extra enlightenment and comfort. And it was a great thing. So thanks, John Williams. Thanks, Yoda.
Yeah, that is a nice, beautiful moment. I agree with you about Yoda's music. It's got this sort of serene, take a deep breath, that we're going to figure out a way through this wonderful quality to it. And then the fact that you're hearing this in front of Lincoln is just, I can't help but imagine Luke plopping down and going, I can't, Lincoln's too big. And Yoda being like, all right, I'll show you, and just floating the whole big statue.
Yeah, love it. So it was a great time out there. Shout out again to everyone who took the time to come out and support, and also took the time from their schedule to shake my hand and or fist bump in some cases and talk Star Wars. So a lot of fun. But from there, we are going to get to Star Wars news. As always, we put the caveat out here that a TV spot or 9 may drop by the time this episode airs, but we're pretty confident. Joseph, we got it's another week, another Boba Fett TV spot, and we love that. We love that there's a lot of little things. So let's talk the latest one, Joseph, Authority.
Ooh.
About 30 seconds long. Had some new footage. So, Joseph, of the 5 extra seconds that were new, what were your favorites?
Oh man, there are 2 bits that I love that were just that mostly a little bit more context. I liked it when the Twi'lek was in Jabba's palace. You really clearly saw the Rancor great,
Yes.
bowing down and saying something about the mayor. And just getting that picture, this is, I'm excited about Star Wars and politics, Ken. That's what I'm saying. But I think that's the nature of what they're setting up with Boba Fett. If he's trying to take over running this criminal organization and holding scary business meetings, like, what is the power infrastructure? Did somebody declare themselves mayor of Mos Eisley, mayor of all of Tatooine?
Yeah, right.
They just said, president's not a good word, or chancellor. I'm going to be mayor. Or is that, somebody's first name? Is that Ithorian? Because we got a clip of another prominent Twi'lek sort of leaning in to whisper to the Ithorian. So I got really excited by the word mayor.
Yeah. That's my spot too. Because of what that might mean. And then also, and I literally, as we're getting ready to record, I was doing a Google search just to make sure this hasn't been revealed. I was convinced, and I think that might be 50% accuracy there. I was convinced that the Twi'lek talking about the mayor was character actor, improv legend David Pasquesi, Groundhog Day, Veep, Strangers with Candy. It's not like when Jennifer Beals was revealed and suddenly it was like, yeah, that's her. I kept looking. I was like, was it him? Is it him? If you're all Veep fans, maybe not familiar with the name, he played Selena Meyer's ex-husband.
Okay.
His character. And he's been, if you see him, he's been around everything. And I just I was in my hotel room on my phone replaying that 50 times. It's got his nose. It's got a little bit of the way his mouth talks when he's doing like a funny character bit. I don't know. So, anyways, but I loved everything about that as well. That sequence.
I can't wait. Yeah. In the rest of the sequence is the other thing of Boba saying, keep your eye on that one. And Fennec saying, I keep my eye on everyone, which just further cements what we've been seeing in these other trailers of Boba Fett's the one of yeah, you know what? I think we can change the way this works. And Fennec Shand being, everyone's going to try to shoot you in the back. So great. I guess that's my job then.
Well, on that was a great moment, and we love even more and more Fennec. He says Boba Fett trusts. Now I'm quoting them to work on their own self-interest. I believe is what he said there. And I was fascinated by this in conjunction with what you're talking about Fennec going, we're going to watch everybody. We've been speculating about, hey, is Boba Fett here to unite the underworld with a little respect or a new way of doing it? Or is he just going to let them destroy each other? and rise to an even higher level of power. I don't know. And that got me just intrigued,
Yeah.
Little insight.
Yeah, I think that he is going to try to unite the underworld because it is the thing that actually makes common sense if they think level-headedly. But I think the criminal world is going to give in to all of their greed,
Yes.
all of their petty anger and selfishness, all the standard dark side checklist, and then it will be let them destroy each other time. That's what I'm really hoping for. I'm really intrigued by the idea that Boba Fett is like, look, if instead of sniping at each other over these hyperspace lanes, you take that one and you take that one, well, actually, look, I ran the numbers. We'll actually you'll actually make more money and have less attention from the New Republic and like that kind of thing where they can't change their ways. But like, they of course would be easier, but they won't do it that way.
I really hope we hear Boba Fett, Tamara Morrison saying, I ran the numbers.
I'm not a hunter. I'm an accountant.
Look at these flow charts. Great stuff on that there. So this is what I'm actually most intrigued as I was poking around to see if that is a Second City alum character actor as a Twi'lek mayor's assistant. I don't know. We heard, and a lot of the people covering this story out there, and I believe it was Robert Rodriguez that kind of said that the marketing footage we've seen so far is like from the first half of episode 1. I think there was even some specific minutes thrown out there, 7 minutes or whatever. But basically, the first half of episode 1, that's the TV spots. A lot of the pictures have been released. And this is something, Joseph, that we've speculated before, sometimes incorrectly. Force Awakens, I was like, oh, that's all from the first 10 minutes of the movie. They're holding back Luke because he's the hero. He just shows up in the third act. It's fun speculating, but sometimes we went off base. But other times, it's ended up being that's kind of the case. But this is the first time, Joseph, that we've just heard. No, you're getting a couple minutes. Like, you don't even know what's coming. And then, as I was searching for this, this actor, David Pasquesi, I'm probably saying that wrong because he's played so many characters and I don't pay attention to his name. Even on IMDb, which sometimes you can, get some casting or a character, something pops up. The only listed cast is Tamora Morrison, Ming-Na Wen, and Jennifer Beals. That's it. Nothing. Behind the scenes people, below the line, all that stuff, they got some of those, but nothing. So this actually has me really excited, Joseph. What do we make of this? And do we like this approach? Finally knowing that you're only getting a couple minutes.
Yeah, I love this approach, and whether or not it was Lucasfilm marketing approved, who knows? But I'm totally with you. I will always remember a very early episode of ForceCenter that recorded in your bedroom at the time of saying like, yeah, this is amazing. They're going to have to release new posters that show stuff that happened in the third act. Very, very wrong. And then basically last year with Mandalorian, I think a lot of us sense that it's only a couple episodes, the early episodes that we're seeing clips from,
right?
And that panned out. But yeah, there's something about this Boba Fett that almost everything is slightly different clips of what look like potential flashbacks and or Boba Fett business dealings. That same group of hunters that he seems to have a conflict with. So it had been really feeling like this is like the first episode. So then it was the Hollywood Reporter interview with Rodriguez where he said, yep, no, it's anything else would be a spoiler. That's like my favorite quote I've heard from a creator. Not that I don't want insights, but I just love that insight of like, yes, we really want to preserve the fan experience while advertising our show so enough people watch it. That we got supported from the marketing department to go, yeah, that's great. Hold it back so the actual show can be the thing that really drives the excitement.
It's been fun. It's even been fun since we first learned that this show was a thing, right? It was, a post-credit, surprise. And that's just been kind of the mood. And I, for one, keep repeating this idea of like, I'm excited because I don't know what's coming. And the fact that it's like kind of confirmed has me more excited than I thought I would be because I've been loving the TV spots, been loving what we've been seeing, and having fun speculating, which is something we're going to do on the channel later this week. So yeah, I'm with you. It's just it's exciting. It's fun. I don't know.
Yeah, and with that confirmation that we're only seeing part of the first episode, that makes me think that maybe we are getting some really exciting flashbacks to,
Mm.
Boba's Sarlacc emergence, and they don't want to spoil that. This
Yeah.
lack of cast thing, this is really cool that you discovered that, because I had no idea
Yeah.
about that. And I think for me, that what I take out of that lack of cast is that there may be some surprises that aren't necessarily that surprising, like maybe Din Djarin or Bo-Katan.
Right.
If this does swing into Book of Boba Fett is Boba Fett's story, but it is also leading into how much does he care about what's going on Mandalore. So I think there's a possibility of some surprises being hidden. I wanted to ask you what you thought about this.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's just that there are a ton of aliens and a lot of the performers are people buried in Athorian and Aqualish masks, or, puppeteering huts or whatever?
I actually think that's a good answer for probably maybe most of the cast not being revealed in a way. Like, I don't disagree with that at all. I think similar to some of the stuff in Mando season 1, characters, some actors were recognizable, but they didn't, from cameos with Brian Posehn to, Horatio Sands being more of a regular character, especially in season 2. Like, that wasn't announced. It just was there, and you just kind of had to figure it out until the credits showed up at the end. And I think I could see that happening a lot with this show.
Yeah, that's true too. Like, there's probably a ton of those just like fun cameos. It's not surprise this famous Star Wars character, Star Wars actor. It's just like, everybody's, favorite character actor or comedian shows up.
Yeah. It could be that, but I'm with you. It just doesn't it just kind of though make sense with Boba Fett, like there'd be a lot of aliens around, right?
I'm, at this point now, taking all of our chatter together and thinking about, we knew Werner Herzog was going to show up, but I really hope David Lynch painted himself blue and shows up in a Boba Fett TV show. That would thrill me.
It's finally it. And it's rewarding. I don't know, it's just kind of rewarding. I was thinking back to Mando, season 1, we were all, or season 2, episode 1, we're all excited about Timothy Oliphant showing up there and Cobb Vanth, and then W. Earl Brown shows up as the Weequay bartender. So it's a Deadwood reunion, and it was there for you if you knew it or not,
Yep. It wasn't a wink, wink, nod, nod. It was just a, hey, this is here and true. Enjoy it if you want. So we are almost there. I'm sure there'll be a couple more TV spots. We are going to be getting ready for Book of Boba Fett on the deep dive this week, having fun with some wild speculations, thoughts that will be either proven wrong or very wrong by the time the show comes out. It's part of the fun. Speaking of characters around that Boba Fett world, Han Solo and Chewbacca, they know Boba Fett a little bit. And in March of this coming year, there's going to be a new Marvel comic series focusing on Han and Chewie before A New Hope. This will be written by Mark Guggenheim, drawn by David Messina, and the series will follow Han and Chewie around the underworld a few years before A New Hope. So, smack dab between New Hope and Solo, if you want to look at it that way. Guggenheim talked with StarWars.com about focusing on the tension inside Han, between Han the cynic and Han the hopeless romantic. So let's just start there, Joseph, on that tension and this idea of a comic book going to take us to some key moments in Han and Chewie's life. Yeah, no, when I saw it announced, I admit I had a little pang of fear for the hope of Solo 2 storytelling.
Yep.
So then when I read that it was happening just a little bit, I don't remember exactly how they phrased in the article, but that it was before New Hope, I feel like, okay, well, that leaves some breathing room to maybe tell the fun story. I don't think there's going to be a Solo 2 film, but I would be thrilled if Disney Plus announced, like, yeah, we're going to do a limited series. It's 6 episodes, and it's Han and Chewie's first job for Jabba, with Alden Ehrenreich. That was my only resistance to this comic. Otherwise, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and you and I have talked a little bit about that with the comics before. We're always honest about that, and we love what they put out. There's so many great things. In fact, I have a literal cardboard box in my living room that shipped to me during my trip out to DC with a new batch of Star Wars comics. I'm finally going to get to some of that Crimson Reign stuff that everyone's all excited about. But I kind of have the same reaction of like, whoa. Is this where I want the answers? Is this where I want them? Comics, not taking away anything from anyone who works on those comics. But they said, you said this evolves around Jabba, and we're doing some jobs for Jabba. Greedo will be involved. Makes some sort of sense that maybe they all knew each other. And more characters found in the comics, whether that's an Afra or something like that, we don't know. Saint Astaros, they could be appearing. And some surprises that, quote, no one will see coming. Does that add to your worries? And I know your worries are small, Joseph, but does it add to those worries? Or what do you think about even who knows who could show up here?
Yeah, no, I'm always excited about the fun. Who knows who could show up? I think for me, that's always I have a lot of trust in the general Lucasfilm editorial team that makes sure that there is elbow room for the right kind of thing. I'm happy that there aren't. I know Kira has been popping up in the comics a bunch at a different part of the timeline. I just want to leave a little bit of that post-Solo time free. I also think I'm excited about this because of the actual writer, Mark Guggenheim. Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with any of his comics work, but he's one of the co-creators, producers, writers on CW's Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, which is two shows that I've really, really enjoyed. That have great sort of genre connections to Star Wars. So the idea of who the writer is exciting to me. And I think the big thing for me, Ken, is not just the talking about what I fear, but talking about what I love.
Yeah.
Getting away from that fear of don't step on the Solo possibilities. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's closer to New Hope is actually really intriguing to me because it's always fun to see down on his luck Han just barely making it through. It's always fun to see Chewie, helping him on whatever wild thing he's doing. But what I would be hopeful for in this comic is seeing some victories, right? Because the original trilogy is predicated on the idea that he was the best. And I'm sure he was the best in a sloppy, it almost didn't happen way. But I don't believe that's sarcasm from Jabba. I don't believe Jabba's given him a second chance out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah,
I believe Han was the best at, being a smuggler, a scoundrel, whatever assignment he needed. And I would love to see some of that of Han making some rash choices, but coming out a big winner in Jabba's eyes.
I love that. I'm right there with you on that. This idea of Han the cynic, Han the hopeless romantic, which is, this constant battle that we love to see in Han. We love to see it analyzed. We love to kind of check in on that in Han's life, right? Where is he this week? But I love what you're saying because that would be, I don't know. You're talking about what Greedo says Jabba is saying about him, and just the obsession Jabba has for Han later on and his favorite decoration. Like all of it, I grew up just knowing that Han, when they walk into that cantina, Han was the best. He was the best.
Yeah.
That's what was set up. That's what you grew up with. And we've got to spend some wonderful time with him early on. Solo ending with him and Chewie punching it and going to light speed to have this lifetime of adventures in front of them. I do want to see them a little bit at the top of their game. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a fun thing with that is like, obviously, this interview with Mark Guggenheim is great. And that's what gives me a lot of confidence, the way he talks about that constant tension of Han between being the hopeless romantic and the hard-bitten cynic. And that there's always room for him to play with those things. But the idea that, by the time we catch up with him in A New Hope, he leans into the cynic and the angel's always there on his shoulder. The hopeless romantic's always kind of whispering in his ear. So that's really intriguing. But in particular for me, it's this idea of what is Han thinking about the future at this point? Like a couple of years between A New Hope. Is he just like, this is great, I made it? Or is he starting to think about that? Hey, Chewie, just land this one more job and then I'll take you back to Kashyyyk. Not that Kashyyyk's a pleasant place to live, but then we can do it. What are Han and Chewie thinking about their future right now?
Yeah, and some great stuff in that interview about Chewie kind of maybe being a little bit of that older, wiser, Han, what are you doing? type of stuff. I'm paraphrasing that. But talk about, what we hope to see and maybe learn about Han and Chewie during this time. What you're saying about Han getting these victories, top of his game, does that cement things in his brain? Do we meet him here going, yeah, that hopeless romantic, it's long gone. That does not lead to success. But what's leading to me to this life that I love is I'm doing good at it. And therefore he cares a little less. And then that sets up, not cares less, but like just sets up New Hope to be that kind of jolt, and Leia and Luke and the cause and the rebellion just coming to the forefront of his story there, being right in front of him, where he can't ignore it anymore, where maybe he'd gotten good at ignoring it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's intriguing about exactly how to handle that, because you could tell the story of he'd gotten good at ignoring it, or he could have the experience where he's been cocky, right? Where if this story is Jabba gives him an assignment and there's a part of it that the hopeless romantic in him says, don't do that. And he gets away with, helping somebody, saving somebody, but still somehow comes up a winner in Jabba's eyes. And he's just getting cocky about, I don't have to choose.
Yeah.
And then A New Hope is a situation where, like, as much as he claims he's a cynic, he's just out for number one. Now he's in this position where it's just like, let him die in that suicide run on the Death Star, or turn around. It's one or the other. It's A or B. You can't thread the needle.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Chewie says, let me tell you something. I've sat here silently. Remember when you left Enfys Nest? Remember that? Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I made reference to that fantasy conversation in my head. Maybe this all leads to a jump to that moment. I want a series that goes into New Hope, and you just have the private conversations with Han and Chewie.
What if Chewie's just giving him the silent treatment? Not a single roar.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I hear what you're saying. You're not saying anything, but I hear it loud and clear.
Yeah. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. I am too. And even if there was a couple seconds, I'm with you on that. Like, okay, but
how are you feeling about that kind of tease in the article of like, oh, there'll be some surprises, but there's a real tease of like somebody's going to show up at the end of issue 1 that you'd never expect. How are you feeling about that?
I am positively ambivalent. Does that make any sense? I think this it could be taken too general as a blanket statement for a lot of the comics. There's a lot of that in the comics, and has been for a bit, even with characters you don't know. The infamous debut of Santa Staros as Han Solo's ex-wife, and remember in 2014 that was the biggest controversy ever. Like, oh my gosh, she's this wonderful character now. But there's always been it's how comics work. Get you back for next month. So I am excited to see who it is. I just, at this point, unless it's like Boss Nass or Jar Jar, I can't be, I don't know if I can be surprised.
He can't be bothered to be excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like the cliffhangers. I like how much in this interview he's selling them as like, yeah, no, they're cliffhangers, because for me, it is part of that pulpy adventure serial tradition of Star Wars. I was thinking about it a little bit, and I think the person who would surprise and delight me is Val, because I want Val to have secretly survived.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I like that a lot too. There's a lot of choices.
There you go. Val and Jar Jar are working together. That's what we figured out.
Because Jar Jar's, according to Aftermath, he's out and about, so maybe he stumbles onto this Han guy. We'll see. Final news story of the week. As always, there's a lot of things out there. Interviews, rumors. Dive on in. There's a great thing with Jennifer Beals talking about learning more about her character from Dave Filoni. But we only cover a couple things on these segments. And this final one was just plain fun. Actually, a lot of ForceCenter listeners tweeted us or posted this in Discord and wanted us to address him. Return of the Jedi will now forever be part of history. That's because Return of the Jedi will join A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back in the National Film Registry. Return of the Jedi received the most public votes of over 6,000 movies up for inclusion. 25 go in every time they do these votes. New Hope went in 1989, Empire 2010. But Return of the Jedi will finally take its place in this important registry here. It helps preserve the actual films and just the legacy. So let's talk about the thoughts and our thoughts on the legacy of Return of the Jedi. That's probably an entire episode, but now that it's in the forefront, what do you think?
Yeah. And I want to paraphrase Vader and say, and now the success is complete. It's great. It really makes sense to me. I think I'm thinking about the legacy of Return of the Jedi as its own film, but then also as the third chapter in a story. And really remembering back to the landscape in which it was made, where a sequel was always just the same film title and a number, and it was often the same thing again, not three parts of one story, right? That's much more common now. But just the idea of, well, if you were going to preserve A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, of course you should preserve Return of the Jedi. So in a way, it's the celebration of the legacy that this is one story, and those three films are only one part of the story,
Yeah, there's something. There's a big giant, I don't know, justification for Return of the Jedi and those Ewoks and the happy ending and all those kind of things that we just kind of grew up with, and just saying, no, these three films, this one story. I love the way you phrase that. Return of the Jedi is a favorite for so many, and in truth is why I'm at the party. That was the first party I went to and really experienced and remembered. So it, not that I need my childhood validated by this list or anything, or that the film needed this for any validation, but it does count. It gives me a little warm fuzzies for that wonderful episode 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, just looking at Return of the Jedi itself as a film and the history of filmmaking, not only it being the concluding chapter of a trilogy that's all one story, but the film itself, the accomplishment of Jabba, right?
Yeah.
The speeder bike chase, continuing to push forward the way that special effects are used in films. And for me, in terms of the legacy, I think the biggest thing is, we've talked about it so much, but the idea of a character like Luke thinking for 2 films, I need to become a warrior, and then realizing, no, I really need to become the best person I can be.
Yeah.
And this is about laser swords and saving the galaxy, but it's also just about like giving my horrible dad, who made 1,000 bad mistakes, one more chance. And that's how I save the galaxy, because I gave my horrible dad one more chance, in a mythic sense, and obviously Luke sensed that there was still good in him.
Yeah,
I don't want to say that everybody should always give their horrible parents another chance, because maybe sometimes not. But I talked myself into a corner there. But you know what I mean, of just the idea that Luke triumphed through empathy and pacifism, and that is the story of this trilogy, is really powerful, and I think worthy of being validated.
Yeah, validated and locked in the history vaults together. The collection is complete.
Yeah.
Now we'll see if the National Film Registry looks towards Phantom Menace.
That will be a very interesting conversation. And if anybody's interested, I can't remember where I read it, to full honesty, but there is interesting discussion about what's literally being preserved, because as beautiful and as nice as this is, it's opened up the old, are they the original films, or is Lucasfilm handing over the updated special editions? That can of Star Wars worms is being reopened.
Yes, absolutely. That's a hot button debate that we can all have. The McClunky of it all. We'll see. And yeah, we'll update this story when the Phantom Menace finally makes its way to the National Film Registry, which, quite frankly, because of the leaps it made with technology and SD charger, it would rightfully belong, I think. But that's something we'll get to on ForceCenter 5000.
Look forward to recording.
Yes. That is a look at Star Wars news for now. Before we take a quick break and get to the questions, we have our ForceCenter Recommends, an audiobook we think you should try out on us. Joseph, what do we have?
We are recommending The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott. Very soon we'll tick over into the new year, and there will be a flood of new High Republic books. This is the big second chapter in the adult novelizations. So if you're interested, or novels, not novelizations, novels. So if you're interested in checking out an audiobook of The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott, you can, of course, do that.
Download that today by getting your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. I cannot wait for that new High Republic Gauntlet. But when you said that, Joseph, I just I did one of those like, all right, here we go. It's game time. We got
We got some books to read. It's going to be exciting.
Books are on the way. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we've got your questions here on ForceCenter. Welcome back to ForceCenter, the big show, the main show, the superstar story of our fleet. Episode 384 is the current number that you're listening to in what we call our 7th season that we've been broadcasting since 2015. We are about to turn the page and get into our 8th season of broadcasting. We're renewed for one more. All right? Got it. Joseph, some great questions today. What do we got?
Yeah, we got 2 questions from Twitter and 2 from our patrons on Patreon. As always, we're going to go first to Twitter, and this is a person with the handle Chubby Gamer. Chubby Gamer says, I almost just said Chubby like it's a first name. Chubby Gamer says, if the original trilogy were made today, who would play Luke, Han, and Leia? That is, that's a fun, complicated one. Ken, did you get some time to think about it?
I did, and I'm going to give an answer I've given on other programs, and sometimes I get asked this question. I've been asked on an older show I was on, and just in general, I don't think my answer is you wouldn't know them, and almost to the point of I'm not love this question, Chubby. By the way, I'm not grumpy about this at all. I just really feel if they're doing this again, I mean, look at Force Awakens. John Boyega, maybe some of you knew him from Attack the Block, maybe not a lot. Oscar
running
Isaac.
Around with the 13th Doctor and Attack the Block. Yep.
There you go. Oscar Isaac, yeah, he was known, but even then it was like, wait, he inside Llewellyn Davis guy is that the guy? Is that the guy? And then, as we all know, Daisy Ridley and her one headshot was the only thing we had for a long time. And that lines up with the original trilogy, perhaps more than the prequels. There was more known actors playing the roles there. I just think it kind of works, and I think that's what I would want. And so it's more of not me skirting the question or just not having an answer. And I don't keep up with a ton of young actors. I don't know. Throw Tom Holland in there. He seems to be doing things. He can be Luke or Han. I don't care at this point. But it's not that I don't care. I just really think that's the magic of it. And even Harrison Ford being the one dude from that one movie who's a carpenter now. Like, it all kind of and even that was almost too known for George, as we all know. I just would want that spirit to be. I wouldn't want the names. I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah. No, I mean, my first answer is exactly the same as you. I wrote down total unknowns.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because I agree with you. I think that there is something about the spirit of that first film, that first trilogy, that does have a magic to it, because for the most part, people encounter that movie as like, that's who these people are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that great actors can't make you forget who they are and all that kind of thing. And I love that we have so many beloved performers in modern times, but I also want there to be room for discoveries, right? I think it's also it's a little bit in the spirit of Star Wars to me, that kind of everybody matters. You don't have to already have been famous,
Yeah,
to maybe, get your first shot because of something as huge and important as Star Wars ended up being, right?
totally.
Yeah, like when they signed on, none of those big three were like, all right, and my career is made, right?
No.
They didn't know how that movie was going to turn out. It was a risk. So I'm with you. I would want unknowns, but then I felt guilty and I came up with some other answers. So I came up with 2 sets of answers. One, just kind of a knee-jerk, immediate thing I thought. I tried to be mindful of age for the most part. But with Leia, I just went to, Billie Lourd.
Yeah.
I think she'd be able to capture that Leia spirit for obvious reasons. Han, call me bonkers, Ken, but I went with Alden Ehrenreich. I think that kid would do a good job as Han Solo.
You look, you're just going for hot takes, villain. I love it.
I am. I'm trying to get as many clicks as possible.
Yeah.
And then you already spoiled it for me. Tom Holland, I actually think would make a great Luke Skywalker, right?
Oh, I would. Yeah, actually, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, he maybe he could play Luke with a British accent. That would be very different. That would be exciting and fun. Or he can do the American accent. No, I think for me, it is one of the reasons that I really love the MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland's performance. We need those heroes who can play utter tragedy, who can play fury and pain and anger, but are just radiating at their core like, I am a nice guy. Like, I mean, when I think of one of my very favorite Luke Skywalker lines in A New Hope of Mark Hamill saying, I care, like Tom Holland can communicate that energy at his core that I care.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also thought, I think, honestly, I would also like to see a more diversity in casting and not just assume
Yeah.
that. So my final 3 picks, if you're going, past the obvious of Billy Lord and Alan Ehrenreich, there's an actor named Aaron Westbrook who plays a character named Tabitha on Riverdale. And I think she's just got this great... she's got this great strength and this great intelligence that is Leia, this great sense of being in command, but also a good sense of humor. So I thought she'd be great for Leia. For Luke, I went to Shamik Moore, who is the voice of Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse animated film. But he's also the main star of Dope by Rick Famuyiwa, who we both have loved on The Mandalorian. I watched Dope specifically because I loved his episodes on Mandalorian. I want to go check something out. And it's a real coming-of-age story. It's very different trappings than Star Wars, but it's got those coming-of-age connections. I think he'd be great as Luke. And then finally, for Han, I was trying to think of Han's a little older. Who's somebody in their 30s who could play a little bit of that rogue and that scoundrel, but still has that heart of gold. And this is a little different than the kind of roles he's played, but I think he could do it. We know him already from Star Wars casting, but I think Riz Ahmed would make a good Han Solo.
Ooh, that's a great one. I love that idea.
So you don't think I'm in dangerous hot take territory with Riz Ahmed as Han Solo?
No, you know Alden, who burned the house down. Which, by the way, that would probably be my choice too. No, Riz Ahmed. Because you'd have to assume that Rogue One doesn't exist in this parallel universe.
Yeah.
Right. So this multiverse of casting. I love him. I really do. And love to find a way to get the early days of Bodhi Rook back in Star Wars anyways.
Yep.
That's a great choice.
Yeah, I just think he's one of those actors who just has such great range, and a lot of the roles that we've seen him in, particularly if you know him mostly from Rogue One, you know him as a little bit more of a somebody who's trying to push past his fear and an everyman, but he's just such a great actor. I feel like he could play that swagger that's covering up the heart of gold.
Love it. Well, see, you've done better than I here. I just got on my grumpy. I don't follow a lot of actors these days. Horse, but you
just got off a plane, and you got off a plane with an honest answer in your heart, which was my first answer to Total Unknowns. It was only my guilt and my compulsion that made me come up with 2 other sets.
When other shows back in the day would be like, all right, name someone who should play this role. I'd be like, I don't know. Just cast someone and I'll probably enjoy them. I don't.
Yeah. The person who the creators feel is best at, capturing who the person is. Yeah. All right. We're going to move on then to our next question from Felice Afra. Felice Afra asks, would you like to see Rey coming back to Jakku to interrogate Unkar Plot about the day her parents left? That is some great, vivid headcanon that's flashing through my mind. My short answer is yes. Where are you at, Ken?
Yes, with an exclamation point. This is a great question, and one of those like a bar or a playground or hanging around with friends Star Wars kind of discussion. The fun kind, where just like this isn't a plot hole in the movie, this is a fun kind of headcanon question. And yes, now would she interrogate him or go back and calmly talk to him and kind of try to find stuff out and have a conversation, maybe bring back portions to him? I don't know. Would he be receptive? I would hope so. But that's where I would say I could see, Rey at emotionally to go back, not to put a lightsaber up to Unkar Plot's face. He might deserve it. But yeah, this actually makes a lot of sense to me. That if she's putting together the story, if she feels she needs to, maybe she doesn't. Mm-hmm. Maybe she's made a choice and she's happy where she is. She's Rey Skywalker and doesn't need to turn around. I get that. But maybe at some point she does. So yeah, exclamation point on that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued by this because I honestly feel like it could maybe even be a comic or novel because I feel like they're in this place with the sequel trilogy characters of obviously a lot of people would love to see more stories, but how do you tell stories while still kind of leaving the door open for what if 10 years from now they all want to get back together. And this is one that makes sense to be okay, well, this is a story that we could tell because it is mostly about her kind of taking those next steps toward the future of putting her past in context so she can move forward. So that's really thrilling to me. I think in my head canon, Rey's trip to Tatooine at the end of Rise of Skywalker is part of a larger pilgrimage. You know?
Yes. Right. Yes.
I think she has flown out to the remains of Alderaan. I think she's maybe visited Dagobah. I think she is, spent a little bit more time just meditating on Ajin Kloss. I think that there is a real, I am trying to honor and put into context the lives of these people who've meant so much to me, right?
Yeah.
And ends up at Tatooine is the right place to bury the sabers alongside with the Skywalker matriarch of Shmi, right?
Yeah.
But that idea of is this part of that pilgrimage, or is it that was my pilgrimage to say thank you and goodbye to the Skywalkers, even though they'll always be with me.
Mm-hmm.
And next up, this much harder pilgrimage of do I want to do this because I know it'll give me closure, but is it just going to rip open old wounds, right? And that it's so fascinating because it's a good complex journey for a character like Rey.
A book like the journal, the journals of Rey, like the new journals, because there's been some journals of Rey, hasn't there? There's some real interesting and powerful in where she is at the end of that journey, and I'm with you too. That I don't think that was just a day trip out to Tatooine.
No, I don't think that was just a quick bop. I think there was a lot of heart and thought in it. Yeah. The other thing about this that's interesting to me about her first steps, she's clearly taken the time. She's made her blade. She is thinking about the meaning of it. She has given lots of thought, all of her experience of what does it mean to be a Jedi, and she has read those books cover to cover.
Yeah.
And she's charting her path. So the other intriguing thing to me about this is okay, if I went back to Jakku because I need to face my past so it doesn't become, this thing that haunts me, and I need to hear about my parents from people who meant them. It's okay, so while I'm here as a Jedi, and I know Unkar Plutt has a unjust system where he hoards food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And uses it to starve people to work for him. Should I just lightly do something about that? I like the idea that I'm here on Jakku to bust up your unjust system and redistribute, the food portions.
Yeah.
And while I'm here, because you don't have a say in that, I'm taking apart your business on Unkar Plutt. While I'm here, do you want to talk to me about my parents?
I really like this idea. Portions for everyone. Just starts throwing them around. First round on me. No, that would track. That would track for where Rey is as a Jedi and as someone who wants to not destroy the past, heal the past, and heal and grow from the past. Yeah.
Yeah. Healing the Past, a journal by Rey Skywalker.
That's my portions.
We joke, but this is the answer to this question is a resounding yes. That's a great story, a great idea, and hopefully we'll hear more Rey stories in the future, either the near future or the far future. We're going to move on now to questions from patrons on Patreon. First up is Adam Knight. Adam says, what's the over-under of an Omega reference in the Book of Boba Fett? Moreover, what kind of blowback will we have within the community if we don't get a reference to Fett's quote-unquote sister that we will never know even existed prior to 6 months ago? Keep up the great work, ForceCenter team, smiley face. Adam always asks great questions, poking some good fun at the way that we can react as a community of sometimes wanting more things connected to lore, sometimes getting frustrated because things are too connected. It's sometimes hard to get the Star Wars porridge to just the right lore temperature. So, Ken, where do you go with this? Do you think that there's going to be a reference to Omega? Do you want one?
I want a reference to, I was going to say an O reference to Omega. Omega. I want one. I really want one. I don't think we're going to get one. Why? I don't know why. I think Filoni, if he's involved in any way, he's always going to look at the salad bar and see what toppings he can put on his salad for us all to enjoy. So it wouldn't be. It's not a giant leap to think that it would. That she would be referenced in some way. I just think it seems like be jumping the gun a little bit on it because that might be the Bad Batch, that's Bad Batch's story to tell in a way. And I think you and I are of the hope, not necessarily the opinion, the hope that a young Boba Fett shows up in Bad Batch. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I'd maybe be willing to wait for the answer over there as opposed to here.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get a Boba Fett monologue on his sister. Definitely not. And there's that great Tamara Morrison quote of like, we're opening up the can and Boba Fett's got a lot of answers about his past. Some of them very short, some of them very long.
Yes,
which I still think is maybe Tamara Morrison's reaction as an actor of like, you gave me a lot of long monologues to memorize.
Yes,
but who knows? I think that I trust Filoni to handle this well, and Rodriguez and Favreau and all of the showrunners and writers of Bad Batch as well. If I had to guess, I would think that there isn't going to be a reference, but if it is, I think it would be something really cryptic, right? I think it would be something like, if somebody asked Boba Fett, have you had family? And he said, I've had some, family, a few. There's something that just kind of leaves the door open and feels like a really a great nod to those of us who are excitedly watching Bad Batch and are excited for the second season and hoping for more about the connection between Omega and Boba Fett. I think the important thing to me is whatever is going to happen in season 2 of Bad Batch, it is well and truly known at Lucasfilm, right?
Yeah.
Because of the schedule that animation is on. So they could be teeing up something with a cryptic reference that we might see in season 2.
And I'd be a big fan of that idea. And you're right. It wasn't it Bad Batch's version of Fennec Shand was probably in the design, design halls sooner than the live action. Just the way it is. But that actually kind of worked for something that you go back and go, oh, it was right there in front of us the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of the kind of blowback, Adam's having some fun. I think asking the question in a jokey way of, like I said, sometimes people want more connection, sometimes people want less connection.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me is for Bad Batch season 2, wanting to see Boba Fett kind of complete his arc, get into from being a young bounty hunter to get into the armor and really stake his claim on in that part of the timeline, being the baddest of the bounty hunters. I really want that, not just because I want familiar characters. I continue to just be really interested in the relationship between Boba Fett and Omega, because they sounds like they're both relatively unaltered clones. That's what we've always been told about Boba. That seems to be what is being told to us about Omega. And it's not that I want Boba Fett and Omega to like meet and talk because it'd be cool. It's that I want them to handle that relationship because it sheds light on how they feel about their own identities of what does it mean to be a clone. And it sheds more light on just the idea of what does it mean to be a clone in general. It's such a powerful Star Wars idea about what makes you who you are, and the idea of found family and different versions of family being, legitimate. Everything from Rey being a Skywalker to Han and Chewie being, each other's, person. Yeah. Even in all the other relationships they have, they're that unit of two, that family of two. And I'm really interested in it, not for the lore, not for any sort of nostalgia pop, but for what it could tell us about who they are.
Yes, and I know we're going to discuss it as we dive in a little bit more, getting ready for Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett. But how much of his cloneness is dealt with in the show is still a big mystery to me. But it's also very, very, very key. It's very important. And I don't think they're going to leave that off the table for too long in content around Boba Fett.
Yeah. Regardless of exactly how Boba Fett feels about it, it's one of his key nouns.
It is. But you're kind of indirectly pitching a sitcom that we could have of Boba and Omega. Like a theme song of he's the alpha, she's the omega, they're clones from Camino.
Yep, I would absolutely happily watch The Fets at Home.
Yeah.
Great sitcom.
Yeah.
All right, any other thoughts before we move on to our final question?
Oh, great one, Adam.
All right, we'll move on then to our question from Kyle Bratt. Kyle says, no one delivers exposition like Rick Ollier. I love his wonderfully clunky dialogue explaining to Anakin and the audience the world of Coruscant. It got me thinking about any scenes that could perhaps benefit from a little bit of Ollier magic.
Yes.
After watching The Rise of Skywalker for the first time, I was ready for a fun discussion with some friends. But before we got into the bold, creative decisions, my friend said, you realize that was Mustafar in the opening scene, right? And I was shocked. I hadn't recognized the planet. How could I have missed it? Then I imagined Rick Ollier somehow returning. Maybe piloting one of those TIE fighters in the opening shot and explaining to his wingman and the audience that it was Mustafar they were flying over. The entire planet is one big volcano. I wonder how many casual fans watched the movie and didn't realize it was the same planet from films past and how Ollier could have remedied this. This is all a long way of asking that if you could insert Rick Ollier into any scene in any Star Wars, regardless of where in the timeline, to utter a line of exposition, maybe including a detail known by you from the wider canon sources, where would you place him? What would he say? And why? This is a very, very fun question. Just celebrating the exposition of Rick Ollier. Where do you go with this, Ken?
Look, first of all, I will say I did not immediately think Mustafar in Rise of Skywalker. I went, the planet's kind of like Mustafar. Never thought that it would be until a couple moments later. So I'm with you there on that whole thing, Kyle. This is a great thing. I love this. And Joseph, I kind of was like, where do I need Rick Ollier's help? And like, where do I feel just whether or not I have more of the answers now, where at the time was I like, wait a second. So I might put him somewhere in The Force Awakens. And there was always that kind of thought of, hey, we love Force Awakens, but the state of the galaxy, the state of the politics of the galaxy, maybe we could have got a little bit more of that, but hey, we understand why they didn't, right? But that's always been the conversation. That was definitely a conversation in 2015 and 2016. But there were some moments where I needed to, maybe wanted to have it put together a little bit more. Not saying the film needed it, but me as a fan was like, I wish I knew that a little bit more. And I think Rick Ollier would come in there where he'd be saying, things about like, well, the New Republic has deemed Leia a warmonger. They're not on our side. We had to form our own resistance. Akbar came out of retirement, like all those kind of things. Would be great.
Yeah, and like the crawl says that the resistance acting kind of on the behalf of the Republic, right? I don't remember, but it's like it feels like the New Republic's kind of like, yeah, I mean, we don't want an army, but we're going to kind of look the other way, and we will, receive your emissary Coruscant to try to talk us into being all the way on board with this. Yeah, if Rick Ollier was just at that meeting where they're planning what to do with the Starkiller base and just explaining, to somebody beside him, maybe Sergeant Salty Sharp. The salt taster from The Last Jedi, explaining to them the state of the galaxy, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I know."
That'd be good.
See, the First Order had control of some space, but everybody just thought they'd stay there. But now they're expanding. Like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, or they bring up the hologram of Starkiller Base, and Rick Ollier just goes, "That's Ilum."
The Jedi used to get their crystals there. Same thing that powered the Death Star, which this is similar to, but larger.
Yeah. They decided to go right to the planet because the Death Star, the first one, took long to build because they're having problems with the kyber crystals.
But the second one, they'd worked it all out, and they had the kyber crystals already, and I guess they just did it much faster.
That's where I would have needed him.
Yeah, I think my mind just started going everywhere. And so the first place my mind went is it would be great if we could just hire the actor, Ralph Brown, to do in-character commentary for every Star Wars film, like the old director's commentary, but just as Rick Ollier, just every time that anything came on the screen, just saying what it is in one detail about it. Dagobah, very muddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I need that, actually. I love Ralph Brown. I mean, since Wayne's World 2 and his Brown M&M story. Yeah. Okay. How do we make that happen?
Okay. I would love that.
Looking at you, Disney Plus. Yeah.
And then I thought of two other concrete examples. One being, I would love it if his spirit was somehow haunting Octo. not implying Rick Ollier is a Jedi, but if he was just like, because there are so many little just Easter eggs, right? He's like, oh, Luke got that compass in the video game. He probably shouldn't say in the video game Battlefront 2, but maybe he would. He got that on that planet. I'm spacing the name of the planet where Luke got the compass in the video game.
Yeah.
Bilio. I was going to say Scipio, and I knew that was wrong, but it isn't Eo. That Luke got that compass from the Emperor's vault on Pilio. Yeah. Hey, that necklace has got a shattered Sith kyber crystal on it. And then like, the nutritional benefits of thala-siren milk are really great. You can go 2 days just on 1 pint.
This is great. I love this.
Yeah. So many things to point out on Octo.
Yeah.
And then Ken, my favorite thing in nature documentaries is it first happened to me, and I think the first Planet Earth, where you're watching like 7 episodes straight, where David Attenborough is the narrator, somehow knows everything about the life of every insect, every mammal, every whale that is encountered, and then eventually you get to a moment where David Attenborough says, like, those monkeys attacked each other, and we don't know why, and it's so terrifying because if David Attenborough doesn't know,
yeah.
Nobody does. So I would like to see Rick Ollier in Saw's hideout and just pointing at the Borgullet and just saying like, I don't know what that is or what it does. I don't know how it works, kids.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. I think, how about this? Can we just get Ralph Brown to do the audio, the audible versions of the visual dictionaries?
Oh, that would be really, really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or since we're making Ray's journal, we could make Rick's journal too. And it's just like these absolute short childlike sentences.
Yes.
Just basic descriptions of things. I had lunch. It was a sandwich. Half of it was made of meat.
Yeah. That was a shock meat. Look, here's the thing. It's like George R. R. Martin, anytime he writes one of his own history books, it's some unknown new maester character that's telling you the story, and it's really effective. So I think he could be, along with Beaumont Ken, they can switch off.
Yeah, we got to shout out Beaumont because he took a lot of the expositional weight off of old Rick Ollier's shoulders in Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, that's amazing. Great stuff. That's great.
Absolutely great. Very fun question, Kyle. And yeah, my final thought, poor Mustafar. The next time it's in a film, it needs to be made very clear since it didn't get its label in Rogue One or didn't get clarified in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, it deserves its set. Maybe, welcome to Mustafar, just a sign as you enter into the territories there.
Yeah, a blinking sign in space that says, welcome to Mustafar. I think that would be great. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Phyllis and Chubby Gamer for your great questions. That's it for the questions, Ken.
That is it. But we want to let you know where you can find us. We are on Twitter at ForceCenter Pod. We are on Instagram and YouTube as well, where we rebroadcast audio versions of our show there. No faces, just our audio.
That's our promise to you.
That's
no faces.
Yeah. Dark Sides clothing. Stickers only the Sith new. Facebook page is Force Center Podcast. We are available in a lot of different spots. We made the big switch to Acast. You can check us out there. Or you can go to iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, and other places. Some more coming soon. Once I, kind of shake the cobwebs of travel off of me, I'll be working on adding us to some spots there as well. Merch is available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter, and you can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. From there, you can get to our Discord if you want to have a great conversation where, you celebrate Star Wars every day with the Force Center friends there. You can follow me at Ken Napzok or go to my website, kennapzok.com. From there, you can find out things I do. And, Joseph, it's just kind of, this is the way we close the show, and sometimes we do it on autopilot. It was every person from Force Center land who came to the comedy show was like, oh, I heard you talking about it at the end of the show. So, hey, thanks for listening to the end of the show.
The system works. I so love it when a system works.
Yeah, be good on my website when I start adding shows for 2022. Joseph, what about you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok is at Joseph Scrimshaw. I am having fun, as always, making some jokes, and in particular, sharing some short videos about the action figures that I don't open. Many of them. Most of them Star Wars action figures. You can also check out all of my other comedy adventures, old comedy albums, shows, books, all that kind of thing on my website at josephscrimshaw.com.
Check it out. Check it out. All right. Big look ahead. Not quite a preview, just a fun, exciting guessing game / getting ready for Boba Fett coming your way here on the show. We got the Clone Wars report, Star Wars Rank special Christmas morning edition coming your way. It's a big week. And as we get ready for a big year in Star Wars, thank you all for the support. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.
ForceCenter.